a warning?
There ain't nothing to worry about.
I'm worried that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
Chucky's back, but this time there's more to fear. Because this time he's got a playmate of his own. Bride of Chucky.
One wedding.
Jennifer, I am so proud of you.
For what?
For sticking to your diet.
Oh, thank you. What's going on in the world today?
Julia Roberts is getting 25 mil for her next film.
Julia Roberts. I'm so tired of hearing about Julia Roberts. You know, I should have played Erin Brockovich. I could have done it without the Wonder Bra. Julia stole that part right out from under me. And you know how she did it? She slept with the director. That's what I think.
Jennifer, you know that's not true.
How come I don't ever get any of the good roles anymore? How come nobody takes me seriously?
Nice tits.
Thank you. I mean, look at me. I'm an Oscar nominee, for Christ's sake, and now I'm fucking a puppet.
Welcome back to the show, listeners.
Welcome to our October lineup. I feel like our October lineup, we technically started maybe 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well, it's okay.
But it's officially October.
Fall is here, October is here, and we're back with another double feature.
Yes.
For your listening pleasure. Listeners, this is going to be a really fun show. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay. Travis McMaster, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, our friend Travis.
Hey, everybody. Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good. We've talked about having you on for a while. I think that these two movies were always intended for you, but I think that it's good that we saved it for the October episodes.
Absolutely. I mean, October, Chucky, sign me up. Can't get enough of it.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting going into these two movies because right now there is so much like Chucky lore out there. I did kind of dip my toe back into the television series. You know, there's the two sequels post these two movies that we're going to talk about today. There's so much that was like happened afterwards, but up until this point, these two movies were just so kind of iconic as far as like blowing up this franchise and this character, and they're just so much fun to watch. So
yeah, they are.
Yeah, so this was a great rewatch for us to sit down and go back to talk about these movies. But Scott,
let's get the formal introductions out of the way. We watched Bride of Chucky, directed by Ronnie Yu, written by Don Mancini. We will discuss him, and released October 16th, 1998. And then we followed it up with Seed of Chucky, written and directed by Don Mancini, released November 11th, 2004.
All right. I mean, two iconic horror films. This franchise is kind of everywhere. These characters. I love Jennifer Tilly's addition into this franchise. Mm-hmm. She's so good. She's so funny. The way how meta it went in Seed of Chucky is just like genius, just a genius stroke. And I think she's just so amazing for being so kind of all in.
Yeah. It's hard to think of anyone else as Tiffany but Jennifer.
Yeah.
Like, I was trying to think of other actresses that you could maybe rewrite this role for, and I really couldn't think of anybody.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't even want to live in a universe where it's not Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, typically at this point in the show, we kind of talk about our first introductions to these films, when our earliest memories watching them. So, Travis, do you want to take us back to when you first kind of saw Bride and Seed of Chucky?
Or should we first discuss kind of Chucky just in general, or just Child's Play? I don't know. How do you want to do it?
Well, we can do that as well. Travis, why don't you start off with your earliest memories of Chucky in general, and then
Child's Play,
and then talk us through when you first saw these two.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'm a late bloomer when it comes to horror.
Yeah.
Got more into horror in my teens, and like Chucky scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like any doll that moved and all that was a hard pass. And I can even remember watching, I think, WCW in high school when Chucky did the intro for there was like a commercial for like their one Halloween pay-per-view or whatever, and I was like, I'm good, hard pass.
Yeah.
But then later on, got into horror, started watching them, but I can't for the life of me remember if it was like around the time of Curse of Chucky coming out, where I was like, oh, I need to go back and revisit all of these, and like I really paid attention. But it was around when I came out in 2007. So I think it was around that time where I was like, let me dive in, because I remember learning like Don was a part of our community and all that. So I kind of did some like Chucky binging, if you will, around the time of like, Curse. Sorry, I want to say Cult, but Curse, because Curse came out first.
Yeah.
But then, it was, I really liked it. It was fine, whatever. But then, I mean, it was the Chucky TV series where I was just like, I'm all in. Having the 7 movies was great, but like the series itself and all that connectivity, that's when I got the box set as a Christmas gift for myself, and just became obsessed, like even more so. And I kind of remember finding out later on, probably around the same time that you did in the mid 2000s, that Don Mancini was actually identifies as he's a gay man, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I didn't know that. And I mean, me being the age that I am, I saw Child's Play like as a kid. I feel like it was my family either rented it or it was on cable, because I remember sitting in the living room with my mom and my stepdad and watching Child's Play. And so I
more played as a straight up horror movie too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The first Child's Play is definitely a straight up horror film, even though there's a possessed talking doll in it. It's still, a little bit more on the camp side. But I saw it as a kid, and I don't know that I was immediately just like turned off by the talking doll aspect. I don't think that really had too much of an effect on me. I never was like, I don't like clowns, I don't like dolls. It was scary. It was effective. The sequels to me were a little less effective than the first. I think the first and the second were kind of my favorites. And then really it was Bride of Chucky that I was like, okay, we're leaning into this. We're really going there.
I think I was reading that just kind of Don, when he's done interviews, kind of thanks Kevin Williamson and Scream for kind of reigniting the horror genre and kind of with a comedy spin on it. I think that's when they kind of tried to bring Chucky back into the 90s with more of a comedy spin.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, going back all the way to 1988, being like 10 years old, I was just like, okay, this is a good. It was I liked horror already at that point. I was all in. My cousins and my sister and I were watching shit we were not supposed to be watching, and so I was already kind of all in. But yeah, it was these two that I was like, all right, this is nuts. This is kind of beyond. Like straight up horror, and then kind of finding out about. I remember being in a Hot Topic at Hollywood and Highland, talking to like either employee or just another shopper, and there was Chucky stuff there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, then there's going to be a TV series," because I think this show had already been announced. And me just thinking,
I think it was in development for a while.
Yeah,
too.
And me just thinking, wow, that's crazy that there's still kind of like there's still life in it, And I like the TV series a little bit more than Scott does.
I watched one season.
I have to say,
we can discuss that later.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there.
Same.
Yeah, I think Fiona Dourif being a big part of it is kind of epic. I think that Jennifer is just icon. I mean, come on. Just it does get a little confusing as far as like who's Jennifer ending and Tiffany beginning and all.
Tiffany taking Jennifer's body.
But I love that aspect of it. So I mean I've been along with this series kind of from the beginning. So I was all in on on discussing these two, especially as a double feature. Scott, why don't you talk about your...
So these movies I would never watch as a kid. I did grow up on horror movies on basic cable, watching stuff like Monster Vision on Friday nights on TNT, but this one I never watched as a kid. I think that there was just something about this VHS box that maybe scared me a little too much. I always talk about just relationships with horror movies just from the covers at the video store.
Yeah.
All of the Nightmare on Elm Streets I never watched as a kid. I didn't watch those until college. That I just sort of had this relationship with the box, that I used to love looking at the boxes in the horror aisle, but I would never actually rent any of them. And I would say that my introduction to Child's Play would have been the first movie that we're covering, Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
That I remember watching this on DVD at the time, that it would have been my first introduction to any of these characters actually sitting down and watching them.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And what an introduction, because Bride of Chucky is so watchable. It's very of its time. Don't you feel like it's very much like that Dimension, kind of like we got to have like the teens in there? Like,
oh, yeah. And the new metal, like opening with Living Dead Girl or I'm not like, love that first
Not the new metal
album.
cover of a Patsy Cline song. But yeah, its soundtrack is pretty epic and very 1998. But you know what? This will be burned in the back of my brain that I will never forget. The week that this movie came out, October 16th, 1998, this is the same release date as Practical Magic. I always remember those two coming out the same day.
All right.
Nice.
Fair enough. All right.
I've never seen it. I honestly don't. I'm a terrible movie fan sometimes.
But yeah, I love just like something for the girls and the goth girlies on October.
Hey, Practical
16th,
Magic
1998.
has something for everyone. All you witches out there.
The horror counter programming.
Yeah. If you like anything witchy, Practical Magic is for you. It's very.
If you like something witchy, Bride of Chucky is for you too.
Kitchen witch.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
there you go. Yeah, there's the different types of witches can have something with each of those. Yeah, I think that the time frame in which that 1998ness of Bride of Chucky is just so like infused, like you said, with the new metal and Rob Zombie kind of starting off this movie is just like so great.
And the hairstyles, like there's just like, I don't know, it just takes me back to that time. The whole like that Dimension era, right? Where all those I guess like 96, 97, 98, 99, just the movies just I don't know if it's the nostalgia factor, but like I'm just like right there where I'm like it just feels like comfort.
And
sign me up.
And this is Universal Pictures too, because I think that they just kind of got the Child's Play franchise from MGM, because MGM at this time was going through financial problems and unloaded Child's Play onto Universal, who kind of picked it up. And what I think is fun about Universal distributing this movie is also like, God bless a time when Universal would put in $20 million into a movie like this and it gets a nationwide release. Like, I think that this movie has a hard time getting a national release from a major studio now. Today.
Sure.
But I think it's fun that this movie kind of leans into the Universal monsters aspect, which are kind of big with that studio, because Bride of Frankenstein is just kind of a big part of the story, and just kind of the We Belong Dead is just kind of this big inspiration and overlying theme of both of Chucky and Tiffany.
Well, it's Bride of Chucky and Tiffany's. That scene with Tiffany and her beautiful bathroom in this trailer.
Sign me up for that.
I want to live in this airstream.
The whole trailer, the wallpaper. It's like, yes. I love that Tiffany has kind of this motif, like these purples, these purples and blacks, these
all
colors.
The dolls in her
very Haunted Mansion kind of coated.
Airstream.
Yeah,
all the dolls and all the doll heads on the shelf.
Yeah, this Airstream trailer is amazing, but she's watching lots of stuff in the bathtub. Murder, She Wrote, but she is watching scenes from Bride of Frankenstein. And that's kind of, I do love that tie-in. But immediately this movie starts off this evidence locker with, the hockey mask, the chainsaw, the Freddy's glove, and the Michael Myers mask. So it's like, okay, shot one, we're kind of telegraphing that this movie is camp, right? The crazy thing is that the first three movies, whilst being possessed doll movies, were just a little bit more, a little bit less camp, I should say, right?
They kind of ground it more in a reality.
Yeah.
For these type of movies. Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. The first two definitely feel more grounded.
Yeah.
Where like this one, it's the start of like, I don't know, like a rock and roll show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so fun. You're just like, it's over the top. It's got this fun music right off the bat. Whatever your thoughts on new metal are in 2024.
I love it. I'm a fan. New metal signed me up. Korn, Static X, Dope, Rob Zombie, all those bands, the Murder Dolls.
Yeah.
I'm here.
It's so interesting because for the longest time, like, deep listeners of this show know that I have this like indie rock kind of like background, and so for the longest time I always like turned my nose up at like new metal, in the 90s. I was like, Fred Durst is like just kind of like the reason this country is going down the drain. But like now, all these years later, I'm like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have, our like Gen Y, like nieces and nephews out there that are kind of really taking to it.
Sure.
And once I started realizing that, I was like, oh, these young kids really like this. Like these young kids are discovering, air quotes, Korn, and they're super into it. And I think that's kind of great. I always feel like Breckenmeyer in Clueless, and he's like, the way I feel about the Rolling Stones is the way my kids are going to feel about Nine Inch Nails. And I was like,
I love that reference so much.
But these kids are kind of discovering new metal, and its use in this movie in particular. It's like you said, it's just setting this shit up. This is going to be a fun show. Get into it. Like we've got, Jennifer Tilly.
I mean, one of the first shots of her is filing her nails with a bloody, like,
yeah,
she's filing her nails and there's blood on the file.
There's blood on the nail file.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when she struts out after killing the cop, like just the attitude, the energy, I'm just like, take me wherever you want to go.
Yes. And not to jump too far ahead, but the cop that she kills at the very beginning of this movie, when Tiffany in Seed of Chucky is like making her amends and like apologizing. That's the wife.
That's the police officer's wife that she calls.
And the wife is like having this freak out over the phone. It's interesting to like tie those two together. But I do want to point out, not for nothing, but Jennifer Tilly in 1998, 40 years old.
Looks incredible.
Looks amazing.
The most beautiful woman on planet Earth in these opening shots.
Oh, I would have thought 30s. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Gorgeous supermodel.
And it's kind of going around nowadays at like millennials and Gen Z are like kind of aging like fine wine. They're like the best 40-year-olds like kind of on the market. But I think in 1998, a 40-year-old woman was kind of like, what? Okay. What a choice.
Yeah, I think you all recently talked about that on your Beetlejuice episode around the idea of like the cast of that at the time. Like they were, I think, late 30s. I'm 39 at the time of recording this. I'm like, oh, I feel like I don't look bad. I mean, I'm falling apart physically, but like,
sure,
I don't look bad.
But exterior wise, you wouldn't know it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was kind of a choice, especially for where Jennifer Tilly was in her. There's a lot of jokes in this movie, and the next one in particular about her career, and she's an Oscar-nominated actress.
Oscar-nominated for Bullets Over
Broadway.
Yep.
But I think there's a lot to be said about a woman of a certain age, and it's like where her career was going, where it is, and maybe taking a talking doll horror movie may not have been the best choice for her.
Well, I remember her doing press for something, and it may not have been Bride or Seed of Chucky that she remembers being maybe on the fence about it for the very reasons that you're saying.
Yeah.
And she was talking to her close friend, Gina Gershon,
Right.
her co-star of Bound. And
Yeah.
Gina was like, I would love to have a franchise because you can always fall back on that shit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the first, I mean, that was one of the big reasons that she took it, is that this is a franchise.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
this will lead to more work.
Yeah, and I mean, look at today with the series still going strong.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, and she's still a huge part of it.
So invested. I mean, like hashtag renew Chucky. She's always putting the tweets out there. You know, like the support's so awesome. And I can remember back in like 2019, I think is when they did the remake. Now, as someone that enjoys remakes because I like cover songs, let me see your vision.
Right.
I will say, because of at that particular time frame, I stood behind the Not My Chucky because I'm like, this remake better not derail that TV series. So
Yeah.
But
And the remake was what it was. It kind of was a one-off thing, and we're kind of better for the fact that it didn't kind of spawn its own franchise. Because the original and the TV series are kind of have so much steam behind them. Where are we right now with the series? Is it kind of in limbo? Do we know if there's another season coming out?
I think it's still. What did I see recently? Because it's like Halloween Horror Nights, and they have a Chucky thing. And I guess it's still like to be determined.
Okay.
I get the impression based off the people I follow on Twitter that it seems optimistic.
Okay.
But I think I can only assume last year's strikes and trying to like rebalance the things.
Sure.
But I mean, it's part of Universal. It was just in a video game. It seems like the excitement for Chucky period is just still going strong.
Oh, yeah.
So fingers crossed for season 4.
Yeah. Halloween Horror Nights here in LA or at the Universal Hollywood. I've only been a few times, but there were specific. There's like a little courtyard in one of the like walkthrough areas.
It's in their little Europe area.
In the little Europe area, and they set up this courtyard where Chucky is kind of like in a balcony, and it's an actor,
Nice,
and he can see the crowd. And he kind of talks to the crowd and antagonizes everyone and kind of like talks shit to you. It was a really fun kind
roast passersby,
roasting the audience, and that was a really fun kind of little area of the park. I always thought that was a great kind of idea. And Universal Studios and the Haunt always does lean into Chucky as a property, so I think that's great. But so going back to Bride of Chucky and kind of Jennifer.
I mean, Tiffany just sort of feels like gay culture. Everything about her. From this Airstream trailer, her whole life, flirting with the teenage boy next door.
Yeah.
It's just like everything about her is just gay culture. And I love that.
Yeah.
Plus one on that point.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Alexis Arquette. And their
love Alexis Arquette.
Their use in this movie, I think it so funny, right? Damien. What is the last name? What's the name of in The Omen? Damien's nursemaid. That's It's All for You, or not? It's All for You, Damien. She's the Mrs.
Baylock.
Mrs. Baylock. That's Damien's last name.
Sure.
He's Damien Baylock. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that. See, they got the references in the script.
But he names himself that. We find out that that's not his real name. He's kind of like this nerdy guy later on.
This IT nerd that has this goth persona.
Yes. But I think I love the use of Alexis Arquette. I think they were used very well in this movie. Very funny. You know, I like all the like tribal tattoos. On the
and the piercings and the lip ring.
Yeah.
And on this recent viewing, in preparation to this, was the first time I noticed when the spider that falls on Damien's face, when it cuts back to showing Jennifer, he's there they're there just like all geeked out and grossed out by the spider, and I never noticed that before. So I don't know, I just appreciated the continuation of just like ugh.
I mean, a tarantula falling on your face.
A pet tarantula named Charlotte.
Charlotte, yeah.
That's so sweet.
That's right. So good.
Yeah, I do want to have an early apology to listeners, to anyone. There probably are going to be a lot of Jennifer Tilly impressions throughout this throughout this recording.
I mean, Jennifer, like I mentioned,
I'll try to curb my Jennifer Tilly impressions because,
like I mentioned before,
gonna be bad.
Jennifer Tilly is just such a larger than life woman that she just lends herself to this insane horror universe so well that it's not even that big of a stretch for her, just because Jennifer Tilly, the person, is just she's just such a big character.
She's a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's a personality.
She's just such a fun personality. Yeah. Like, you just want to hang out with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And to the point of like the personality, well, I've listened to on Audible now the Reign of Chucky. It's like a whole history around the entire franchise. Highly recommend if you're a Chucky fan.
Okay.
But they go into the point about with Jennifer lampooning herself, especially in Seed, and like supporting all that. Just how like, I don't know, confident as an individual you have to be. Like the lack of ego you probably have to be able to make the jokes that are in that. I'm like, I don't know. I bet she's one of the coolest people to hang out with.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Teach some poker tricks.
Soon to be a recurring best friend on Real Housewives.
On the Real
of Beverly Hills.
Housewives.
Yep.
I mean,
I
she's friends with Sutton Strack. Sutton is in.
I need to watch that episode with Sutton.
Amazing episode.
Isn't it? It's both her and Joe.
And Gina Gershon.
Joey and Gina. Okay.
And Gina Gershon is in
I
the
need to
episode
watch that
as well.
episode this October.
It's this really cool, like, haunted house.
Is it like a murder mystery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to watch that one.
Yeah. Joe Pantoliano, Joey Pants, he's in the episode, and Gina, all playing themselves. And Sutton Strack, just in real life, a good friend of Jennifer Tilly. And Jennifer has done a few episodes of Beverly Hills as kind of Sutton's friend, kind of on the side, but she's going to be introduced into kind of as a more recurring role in the next season. But like you said, some of the jokes, especially in Seed of Chucky, Tiffany pulling on her and just saying like, she's so fat. Like, I can't believe she's not pregnant yet. Like, oh my God. Kind of amazing.
They said in the book Reign of Chucky that I guess the original script or the Jennifer was almost like too harsh on herself, and they were like, "Okay, can we like dial back some of your jokes and not make you so mean to yourself?" Love that.
Yeah, she's pulling her. She says, "Fuck, she's fat." Like, oh my God. Okay, so I want to mention that the images of Charles Lee Ray that are in Bride of Chucky. It's like newspaper photographs, and it's Brad Dourif, right? And I think in the original Child's Play, it's Brad Dourif as the Charles Lee Ray when he's alive. These images, these photographs of him, they look like Tommy Wiseau from the Room.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, he's just got this like long black hair, and he's like all dead. I'm like, why does he look like Tommy Wiseau? This is so weird. But I mean, I guess I would cast Tommy Wiseau as a Charles Lee Ray character. But listeners, if you're not familiar with The Room, and what was the name of the theatrical?
The Disaster Artist.
The Disaster Artist. Look that up. It's a very I think it's what this character.
Do you know what I think is one of the more successful themes of Bride of Chucky with Tiffany is just kind of this overarching theme with her that's kind of sweet, of that Tiffany does want this relationship with Charles, that she wants to get him back in human form because she thinks he's going to propose to her, and just kind of this treat her right and never take her for granted. That you want to be the woman, you want a man that you want to cook for, and he's going to wash the dishes. Like, that's some true love. And that's just very sweet for a movie like this with this character, is that she's still she's this goth girly, but I think that there's just something very oddly wholesome about her, about her ideals, especially about marriage.
To build on that, I mean, she does say, "I'll kill anybody, but I'll only sleep with someone I love." Yeah. So I'm like, well, I'm glad you got boundaries.
They're very heteronormative relationships, Scott. Is that what you're talking about?
It's just kind of interesting to juxtapose just how rock and roll she is, but she's just kind of this sweet girl at heart.
But at the end of the day, they're still very volatile. All it takes is for Jade and, what is the guy? Jesse. All it takes is Jesse and Jade to just be like, look at him. He's going to eat your food and he's not even going to wash a dish. And she's like, that's right. Let me just go murder him again.
But yeah,
it's just a drop of a hat, just a little quick little thing. And they're just ready to fucking take each other's heads off.
But I mean, isn't that just marriage though?
Also true.
Yeah.
Also true. So I do want to talk a little bit about Jesse and Jade and their gay friend.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about these three.
These three knuckleheads.
Okay, well, let's start at Jesse. So you mentioned he would later go on to soaps, that he's a big soap star.
Yes. Nick Stabile plays Jesse. He had a good run on Days of Our Lives and General Hospital. Nick Stabile is one of the most buff.
Is he high school
teenager.
age? I don't know. He lives in this trailer park next to Tiffany, so maybe he just graduated.
True. I'm assuming he's taking her to some sort of formal dance, though, at the very beginning. When we get our switcheroo date.
I think it's Homecoming.
Yeah. This very John Waters and polyester kind of like, I'm going to get my gay friend to like pick me up and take me to the date. But really, Jesse, the himbo, who's a little too, buff for a teenager, he's actually going to take me to the Homecoming.
And with the friends all like, I'm a swimmer. I'm going on a swimming scholarship. And John Ritter's just so heartbroken. Not heartbroken, but you can just tell he's like, huh.
Yeah,
great.
he's just like, oh, a football scholarship? He's like,
Doesn't he say musical theater?
I think like theater's in there. Yeah, I think he says he's going to major in like theater tech or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's talk about Jade, played by Katherine Heigl in 1998, pre-Grey's Anatomy. Katherine Heigl. I mean, she wouldn't have even gotten Valentine yet. Horror classic Valentine. Casting of Katherine Heigl, interesting. And I was thinking when watching this movie, Katherine seems like she would be pretty far down on the list of actresses who they read. And
rude.
It makes sense when you told me that Julia Stiles was cast as Jade and chose to make 10 Things I Hate About You instead.
Yes.
Probably like the wise career move. But I could totally see Julia
Stiles.
I could totally see Julia Stiles as Jade.
Okay.
I don't really buy Katherine Heigl as someone named Jade.
Well, we can't tell. We can't help what our parents named us, Scott. Yeah, I think these characters, again, it's a product of its time.
They're a mechanism of the plot.
The teens in here, and yeah.
That mechanism of the plot, that's a great way to put their existence in that movie.
Yeah.
Moving everything in motion.
I want to talk about David, the gay friend, played by Gordon Michael Woolvett, as the gay decoy.
I remember that being a big moment for me watching this when I was in junior high.
That there's a gay character?
That there's a gay character. So
yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool when I was 14 watching this movie.
Yeah. And not just that Jade is like, he's friends with Jade, and maybe in another movie or in an earlier movie, maybe Jesse wouldn't be that tight with him, but he's tight with both of them. Like, even though Jesse's like this big jock and he's like super buff and all that, Jesse still is constantly like calling David and like confiding in him. And so I think it's refreshing that both of them, and I'm sure that is, Don Mancini kind of writing that in, baking that into the plot, that both of them are just kind of cool with it and don't give a shit. And it's not a plot point. It's just
they were friends before he came out, and they just remained friends.
Yeah.
It feels very much like Christian and Clueless, right? Like,
yes, yeah.
he's gay, that's it. But like, everyone's still cool, everyone's still friends. And you know what? There was an added bonus because we can try to prank John Ritter on he's taking Jade to the dance.
And he's not secretly in love with Jesse. Like, there's no kind of conflict there. Like we said, it's who he is, and we're moving forward. This actor, I think he's a little discount Alan Tudyk.
Oh,
I was like, all right.
I mean, I had similar hair at this time, so I'm not even one to give this actor shit for
that hair,
blonde tips.
that hair
'cause
choice. Okay.
Have had this exact hair.
All right. Gordon Michael Wolvett, for our super nerds in the listening, will remember him from Andromeda with Kevin Sorbo. He was on that for 5 seasons. Andromeda was just kind of like a Star Trek kind of ripoff, shot in New Zealand, in the early 2000s. One of those syndicated sci-fi shows. But that's really kind of what he's most known for. Didn't really do much after that. Like we said, Nick Stabile as Jesse was on Soaps, and what's her name was on Grey's Anatomy.
Katherine Heigl
Grey's
was on Anatomy. I mean, she was a
for the
brief
longest
movie
time.
star.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But as far as, if we're going to have just kind of like these high school teen characters in there, okay.
It works.
We got this gay kid.
Yeah.
Great. As visibility, in what did we say, 1998 when this movie comes out, I'm like, all right, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
There's a gay kid in here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it. John Ritter, interesting character.
Her uncle?
Her uncle? Yeah, we're like, what's going
Sure.
on here? Why does he hate her so much?
Mm-hmm.
Probably because he said yes to being responsible
guardian.
for a child.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then the parents probably bet it. He's like, oh, damn, it actually came through. Now I got to be a parent.
Yeah. And I guess she's like a problem kid, just like running off with this boy. I don't know why he hates Jesse so much. Lives in a trailer park.
And this series, now thinking about it, like in this moment, this series is full of like parents that kind of don't like kids.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
People who should not be parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, even in the second one when, and I am like blanking on
And the
all
second
the
one's set
names.
in the foster house, right?
Andy.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
in the foster house. That dad sucks.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
dad.
That dad. Yeah. We got Christina Elise as Kyle kind of coming in to like be the surrogate parent for Andy. And those, no, you're right. There's a lot of people who have no business really being parents in these movies.
I want to talk
Yeah,
a little. I want to talk a little bit about the doll makeover of Tiffany. Of
Oh my
that,
God.
I mean, just kind of hilarity ensues, and Tiffany ends up in the body of this doll.
This bride doll who is this for? What is this bride doll? What?
It's like an
The bride
American
doll?
Girl doll, but it's like a bride.
It was for Chucky, yeah, because when I think it was just to throw shade after Chucky was like, I'm not, like, what are you fucking nuts? I'm not marrying you. The next day she comes back, she's like, here's the doll.
Yeah.
So,
But in the universe
just
of this movie, why was this doll manufactured? For little girls to have a bride that's their size? Because the Chucky doll was a play on the My Buddy doll of the 80s, which was like, it's like a life size.
It's like an American Girl doll is getting married.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
Oh, we gotta just at least briefly mention when Tiffany is trying to bring back Charles that she has the voodoo for dummies. You laugh so hard
Yes.
at that reveal.
I will always laugh at the voodoo for dummies gag.
It's like this is that type of movie.
Yeah, exactly. We're leaning into the camp. The evidence locker with the frickin' Freddy Claw glove. All right, fine. This is the world that we live in.
By the time they get to the Voodoo's for Dummies, when she's in her trailer, it's like, you don't know what you signed up for at that point.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's true.
Give me a copy of that book. That's amazing. And it carries through. Like, it carries, spoilers, the book is a part of the TV series, too. So,
Yeah. She says something about voodoo. Oh, this is a voodoo pregnancy. in Seed of Chucky. This is a voodoo pregnancy. I'm like, all right, okay. I guess if Voodoo for Dummies is there and I'm laughing at it, I shouldn't question the bride doll. Like this is the world that we live in. Just shut up and go along. There's a full size.
But then we were also thinking, do you think that you can dye doll hair? Plastic doll hair?
Is acrylic doll hair going to take bleach and hair dye? I don't know. Will it just burn to nothing when you put hair bleach on it?
So without trying to like dive too much into like the science or the magic of this world, I want to say I think when you enter the doll, because like there's that humanistic element,
right?
Because
it's real hair.
When her back, Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's how she gets away with it. Okay. So cue the call me and let's go.
I love a makeover scene in a movie, and this is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
And I guess that she just had a doll that had little mini Doc Martens. I guess.
Doll-sized
Doc Martens.
Dr. Martin boots. Yeah. Why not?
There's probably like an accessories pack that came with that bride that we just didn't see.
There you go.
So
yeah. I mean, this is also a world where Tiffany, the character, is having this luxurious bath in this luxurious clawfoot bathtub with a full beat.
Yeah.
You know, she's got the full mug.
Drinking her glass of champagne.
Drinking the champagne, just like, okay, I'm gonna have a bath. And I love that Chucky just throws the whole damn TV in there. Just electrocutes the shit out of her. Yeah.
I always forget about the just sort of the MacGuffin of the Child's Play movie of this amulet. I kind of forget about that.
Right.
That's kind of at a time in the series, that's what everything revolved around, was them trying to get that amulet.
So the deal is he can do this voodoo, like I can put your soul into a doll just by saying the words. But if I want to put your soul back into a person, we need the amulet.
Yeah, the heart of Damballa.
The heart of Damballa. That's it, right? That's why they need it.
Yeah.
To go into people. And that's what we want. We want to ultimately Chucky's main goal every time is I got to get out of this fucking doll and get into a person.
Well, we can talk about more in the Seed of Chucky, but
yeah.
I mean, I'll just say now, I love one of my favorite parts of Seed is when he's like, I'm this doll. I'm cool here.
Sure.
I'm fucking Chucky.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's kind of where ultimately this leads up to in this movie.
That's Chucky's character arc.
Yeah, just like, great, fine, you know? Because that's the whole thing about like in the first and the second movies and all that is like the longer he stays in this body, the more like human the doll becomes, starting to bleed and, you know, have bones and all that. And you know, I think it really is in Bride of Chucky when we see these dolls and the acting that they can get out of these dolls. Incredible. I think this makeover that Tiffany gives to the Chucky doll in particular, and where we get this image of him with the staples in the face and the little swatches of hair that she staples onto the side, like that shit is genius. Whoever came up with this idea of stitching together Chucky's face and adding the little swatches of like the red hair stapled on there and all that. Like it's so effective. And we as an audience you never question it. You're never like, oh, this is a little robot.
There's nothing uncanny valley about these puppets too. Their eyes are so expressive.
Their eyes are so good.
Oh yeah.
You know? Yeah. And Tiffany, when you see the bride doll and it's got this little Joyce DeWitt wig, this like Janet from Three's Company black, you know, Liza hair, you're like, what is going on? As soon as it turns into Tiffany and we get the blonde with the black roots and, you know, the smoky eye and all that, you're just like, boom, there it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's just delivering at all times. And these dolls are so effective.
And I think in this one in particular that you really see there are just dolls on the screen doing these scenes. And prior to this, I mean, there's always a person, and at least in the first Child's Play, is it 1988?
Yeah.
That, I mean, they really hold the reveal of the Chucky doll until probably in the third act of that movie, that you really don't get a good shot of the doll. Uh-huh. But this movie, you see Tiffany and Chucky doing these full conversations.
Yeah, where there's no other human actors in the scene, just two puppets talking. And we're just like, great, we're in.
Sure.
We're buying it. We don't question it.
Yeah, there's definitely that switch where it's like, oh, we came here to like see what Chucky has to say, right? Yeah. And so it just happens to be in the movie where he gets a bride, and then there's, you know, double the fun because the sparring is so good. Like, I'm so glad that they got to record Brad and not Tiffany, Jennifer. Jennifer got to record together in the studio just because I think that adds to that chemistry that the dolls have with the voiceovers,
Yeah.
right? So
They talk about doing the sex scene of this movie, of the first doll sex scene ever committed to film. And I think that they were just kind of cut away from it. But
Yeah.
Jennifer wanted to do audio
Sure.
in the sound booth of their sex sounds.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is this before Team America?
Yeah, this was before
Yep.
Team America.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So it is the first doll sex scene
Yeah.
in the movie.
But yeah, just kind of Jennifer ad-libbing all of these moments with Tiffany that they kind of
Yeah.
built into the movie.
I mean, we're getting some like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf level like
Yeah.
marital disputes like between these two on screen.
Scenes from a marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's just these two are so good. Like, you know, we're giving Jennifer Tilly like all of these flowers in this movie, but Brad Dourif is doing some solid fucking work in all of these.
oh, absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
you know, his voiceover work is so good. You know, when you listen to Brad Dourif as Chucky, you kind of just you have this voice in your head of this character, but then you see him. He always plays kooky characters, right? He's Brad Dourif. He's not going to play like just like a boring, you know, businessman. He's always going to play a weird character. But when you see him in these other movies, especially his work in the 80s, you know, you see him in Dune or something, or even in Lord of the Rings, it's always different.
Yeah.
He always sounds different. He's always doing something with his characterization. And I think we just take for granted Chucky, just this growl, you know, this like growly voice and just like cursing all over the place. But, you know, we really shouldn't take it for granted because Brad Dourif is really creating this character.
He has that
so
iconic laugh.
Yeah. It's so
Oh
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
That laugh makes me so happy. Like more often than not, when Chucky starts laughing, I'm laughing because I'm like, we're all having a great time.
Yes.
I
This
think
is
that
fun.
it's David Kushner who he's produced all of these movies. David Kushner produced Hocus Pocus. Fun fact.
Oh, interesting.
The producer of Hocus Pocus also did the Child's Play movies.
Okay.
But he talked about that when doing the test screenings for the first 3 Child's Play movies, that whenever Brad would have lines, that the audience just fucking lost it.
Yeah.
And I think that was another big part of the direction of Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
Is to really give Brad
Lean into it.
more to work with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's the juxtaposition of this doll, this child doll, saying these awful things.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to see it, you know, and I think they did it more so in the early movies where they would have the cutaways to like a little person, you know, they really minimized that.
It's limited shots in this
these
movie.
Two, yeah, they really focused so much more on the doll work and the puppetry of it. But yeah, that juxtaposition of seeing this child's doll saying these curse words and all of that. But yeah, just listeners, don't sleep on the characterization of Chucky. And if you're not familiar with Brad Dourif and his work, kind of look it up and see who he is, and you'll be like, oh, that guy. I know that guy's face, you know, and then when you see him in, you know, if you watch David Lynch's Dune or if you watch Lord of the Rings and you're like, whoa, that is a really kind of a switch for him. So, all right, this movie has a lot of crazy set pieces. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in this road trip.
I also love the plot of this movie, that it's a little road movie. It's kind of
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde meets Natural Born Killers.
They call them both.
Yep.
They call them both on this, you know, misadventure that they're on, where everybody thinks that these two are kind of. I love the distinction between mass murderers and serial killers. All that's.
Yeah.
What is it? A mass murderer is all at once, and a serial killer is like over time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
serial killer is a group. I think it has to be 3 or more, but over a period of time.
Okay.
I think it's 3 or more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But yeah, it's really Chucky and Tiffany killing all these people, but Jesse and Jade are being framed for it. You know,
They got to get the dolls to this cemetery
yes,
to get all of this money so they can start their lives together.
$1,000.
Yep.
Cha-ching.
and the amulet off of Charles Lee Ray's, you know, corpse.
Do they actually have to dig them up?
Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of glossed over. That they have to be grave robbers.
yeah. He says he was buried wearing the amulet.
Oh, but I think they just have to to get them to the cemetery.
I think that Chucky and Tiffany are going to dig them up once they're there.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're just there to get the money. It's not that important.
Kind of interesting to choose Ronnie Yu as the director, Hong Kong action movies, and I think that they kind of wanted these fun set pieces of this movie too, to kind of be shot a little bit like an action movie. So I like that. Definitely a moment in the 90s where these Hong Kong directors like John Woo would make American movies.
Sure.
And then Ronnie followed this up with Freddy vs. Jason.
Okay.
In 2003.
I mean, you want to talk about an action set piece. Can we talk about the bisexual pickpocket swingers?
Oh,
I'd love them.
And their death scene.
So much fun.
Those two, yeah.
Go for it.
Those two are amazing. This scene starts off, this shit is wild. They just barge into this room like they own the place, and they're
these
just like
grifting swingers. Yeah.
It's like, ooh, it's your honeymoon. It's ours too. How about that?
Just openly taking the money on a table too when she sees the wallet.
I think she's kind of being a little sneaky about it, taking this wallet.
I don't know if she looks all that. She looks pretty obvious taking it.
But is she using her like the boxer shorts with the hearts? The half naked like husband, she's using him as the decoy. Like, focus on this man candy over here while I go through your things.
Well, yeah, I think the kids are so caught off guard because they're geeked out for their own situation. Then they have these two strangers who are just like, this is great. Where, I think that's where with Tiffany knowing like, this is our ticket to where we got to go.
Yeah.
These two variables, I don't like this equation. So because like, the kids are just like, we already don't trust each other because we're killers. I keep doing air quotes like the listeners can see. Like, what am I doing?
It's okay. Yeah. You have to get into this mindset of saying air quotes when you do air quotes when you're on a podcast.
Yeah.
We're also nodding along as you talk, so it's like people can't see that either. But it's interesting that there's a certain point before Jesse and Jade are even aware of Chucky and Tiffany, where they have this kind of like, they're both afraid that the other one did it. And they have this moment where they both call David simultaneously to kind of say like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what she's thinking, but like, we're kind of in for it. And David's kind of on call waiting, kind of going back and forth to the two of them. And then just shows up the next day. It's kind of this idea to get him to show up to have the three of them. And then ultimately his kind of gruesome death.
This was pre-Final Destination.
Yeah.
Of getting hit by buses.
Yeah. And exploding.
I mean, that cars were going very fast on that freeway, Pete.
And it's a full big rig truck.
It's a full Mack rig.
Mack truck. Yeah. But yeah, I have Discount Alan Tudyk gets hit by a truck and explodes. Sorry, listeners, for any spoilers if you have not seen Bride of Chucky. I mean, come on, this movie's
26 years old.
26 years old.
They know what they're in for when listening to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We're not a spoiler free zone here. We are definitely letting them rip. But I also have again going along to how volatile these two characters are. I mean, they're psychotic serial killers trapped in doll bodies. Of course, you're going to be a little on edge.
But it feels like a very real relationship, too, which I kind of like. That these characters seem very lived in.
Well, there's that moment earlier in the movie where she mentions Martha Stewart, and he's like, who the fuck is Martha Stewart?
So good.
So sweet that Tiffany idolizes Martha Stewart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then later on when he says, like, what would Martha Stewart say? And she's like, fuck Martha Stewart.
In that Jennifer delivery.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That has to be something that they got from Jennifer Tilly.
From Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in 1998, for him to say who the fuck is Martha Stewart would have gotten a huge laugh.
Huge laughs in the audience.
But then later on, when she finally has that turnaround, and she's just like, fuck Martha.
There's a callback line to Martha in Seed of Chucky that she's going to be executed.
Oh, my God.
Which is also hilarious.
Oh, my
because
God.
in 2004 is the year that she went to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's on death row.
But in the universe of Chucky and Tiffany, she's on death's row
for insider trading.
For insider trading.
I'm like having all this like fan theory, or manifesting now. Where I'm like, man, bring Martha and Snoop Dogg to the Chucky franchise.
Totally. Would they both be dolls?
I don't know.
Would they both be dolls?
That's interesting. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they could like be humans and then go to dolls.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just that idea of it, or like, I don't want to spoil anything for the TV series.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I'll just say that the idea of, I don't want to say anything. Never mind.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. I don't want to.
For 25-year-old movies, we're glad to spoil them, but for the TV show, which is ongoing and could possibly come back for another season, we'll keep that because that is something that you can go onto Peacock right now and start it from episode 1. And if you have not watched any of it, I definitely recommend it. I think it's a fun watch, and I think the fact that they brought in, making it as inclusive as it is, and making the lead character
so gay.
A gay male character, and it is a really gay show. It's a really queer show. I love that. I think for horror fans, I
find this is just me. I find something a little off-putting about those two characters, but that's just me though, and that's kind of why I didn't go on to season 2. Is that all of the teenage characters I don't really care for? Give me Chucky and Tiffany.
Sure. I mean, they're there. They're there. You just got to sit through,
All right, so let's kind of wrap up our thoughts of Bride of Chucky because I can't wait to talk about Seed of Chucky. I like that kind of Tiffany's end. It's very monster. It's very Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
like
it's very Universal Monster.
It's very Universal Monsters. Just kind of the tragedy of this character, and kind of when she looks at this teenage couple, like she kind of sees maybe a younger version of both her and Charles that could have made it too. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's something kind of layered about that.
Okay.
Of when she kind of does do the right thing at the end of the day when she's all burned.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love when she gets kicked into the oven and when she comes out. That iconic burned up Tiffany doll. I love that shit. So good.
That should be a Funko Pop.
Yeah. Yeah.
To circle back to the Universal Monsters, not Monsters. The line though about "We belong dead," I love that you see it from Bride of Frankenstein being said as Chucky's killing Tiffany. Yeah, but then at the end, as Tiffany's killing Chucky, that's when she drops the line back. So a little bit of a callback. Yeah. Love that. So
great full circle moment. Great use of Universal Monsters. And for this being Bride of Chucky and Bride of Frankenstein is a very it's a good watch. I feel like
we covered it on our show.
We have covered it on our show. If you haven't seen it before, it's a quick watch, isn't it?
Oh, it's like just over an hour long.
70 minutes or something. But it's one of those movies that even though it's like from the 30s and it's this black and white movie, it's very watchable.
Feels very
to
contemporary.
A modern audience, because that's a problem that I have with older movies, even some older horror movies, especially these black and white movies from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, that the pacing is very different. Us like MTV generation, we're used to like these quick cuts and all that. I think that Bride of Frankenstein in particular has a very almost modern pacing to it, so that you can just kind of sit back and watch and enjoy it. And listeners, if you haven't watched it, definitely recommend it. And the full circle moment in this movie in particular is really well executed, and it just kind of brings it back to Don Mancini, right? I mean, he wrote the script. It's just, that shit's great. But I think all that being said, we definitely need to get into our second movie, which is Seed of Chucky,
written and directed by Don Mancini. That he was in the director's chair this time, which I like. That they just handed the franchise off to him.
Yes, I said at the beginning of Bride of Chucky that that movie is full camp, and they're really leaning into
Bride
it.
of Chucky's already operating at a 10, and Seed of Chucky is just, this is like off the charts of when this movie begins, that it is like pedal is to the floor with this tone. I do remember this coming out in theaters and being in college at the time, and it kind of being a big deal that you heard it talked a lot about, that Jennifer Tilly this time is just playing herself. That it's going full meta.
Yeah. Great. I love it.
I had not seen this movie in quite a while, and watching it this afternoon before our call, I think I prefer this over Bride of Chucky. I think that there's just something about this movie's tone that I think is so successful and funny that we were laughing out loud on our couch the entire runtime of this movie.
Yeah.
That there is some gold in
them Thar Hills.
Everything going on in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that largely, Jennifer Tilly is like...
She's spearheading a lot of laughs.
She's spearheading a lot of laughs of this movie.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, it's a movie that has aged really well. That it kind of... It goes into a lot of things that... Even at the time, I think that discussions of gender identity, you didn't really see it a lot in movies, let alone stuff produced by a major studio.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting when you dissect what's going on in this.
I wonder how the studio really kind of reacted when, Don Mancini turns in the script with this main character, this lead character, Glen/Glenda, and all of the issues that are kind of talked about. Travis, let's talk about Glen/Glenda and, where that fits into how queer the Chucky TV show is, having these characters front and center, these gay characters front and center, and Chucky as a character kind of commenting on that. That's kind of become a meme now with this conversation that I forget the lead kid's name in the show.
Oh, Jake.
With Jake, and Jake having this conversation with Chucky and saying, "You had a kid," and Chucky saying like, "Yeah," and can you? What are your thoughts on all that? Let's get into it.
Yeah, all kinds of thoughts, but really quick, jump back to the one comment question you had asked Pete about what would the studio say. Well, they said it was too gay.
Sure. Okay.
So, love that.
Yeah.
But so Jake in season 1, it may be episode 1 or episode 2, and he's like, when Chucky's talking about having a queer kid, gender fluid, and Jake's like, "Are you okay with that?" And Chucky's just like, "I'm not a monster, Jake." And I'm like, "Bitch, you know it. Chucky, you can murder all the characters you want, but the fact that you are super supportive of your queer child, I love it."
Yeah.
So.
But also Chucky as a character did kind of go through a journey in Seed of Chucky too. That it took him some acceptance,
right? Yeah,
of his queer child,
because he always wants Glenn, he always wants Glenn to be a boy.
Yeah.
Yep. And Tiffany wants Glenda.
Yeah,
it's the girl.
Yeah.
For me, so I for listeners, I identify as non-binary, and I come back to this movie so much more because I think it did age very well. And I get that at the time, right, certain people just didn't have the knowledge or language around it. So I think that Don did the best that he could with maybe the information that he had. But the idea of like this character going through this journey, not entirely sure of their identity. There's just so much for me to just kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
And so it's awesome to see. On a small note, I love that Glenn wears a purple shirt and black pants. I love purple. I love like all black. I mean, the shirt's all black, but the amount of queerness and idea of identity, and specifically not just for Glenn and Glenda, but I love that even Chucky and Tiffany have a bit of an identity journey for themselves. Like I said earlier, Chucky's like, I'm this killer doll. This is who I am. That Chucky gets comfortable with that. So I love the queerness for this movie. And the point earlier, like, it's probably like my second favorite because I love I love that horror comedies or comedy horrors. I love blood, guts, ass, and laughs. And this movie gives me like all four of those things. So I'm laughing right along with y'all, through this movie.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, I think it's very early on in the movie that Glen/Glenda kind of says, like, sometimes I feel more like a boy and sometimes I feel more like a girl. Right. And it's just like, okay, and yeah, like you said, in what year is this movie?
This is 2004.
2004.
Yeah.
So in 2004, our language maybe isn't quite there as far as, non-binary or gender non-specific or saying these things, but just kind of having this character say that and just not specifically saying like, I'm trapped in the wrong body or what have you, just kind of saying like, maybe I'm somewhere in the middle, and maybe some days I am more of a boy, and some days I am more female. And just so for the studio to say like, yeah, it's way too gay. It's kind of interesting, but cool that Don Mancini still kind of got it all in there.
Yeah.
And today we're able to just watch it and just be like, fucking cool. I love that it's Billy Boyd. Billy Boyd's most famous for Lord of the Rings and playing Pippin Took, and he's got this like very thick Scottish accent.
And they just built into the character. Yeah.
But, the character was kind of the doll was found in the UK, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I guess the doll was found, the dude, the ventriloquist guy, he said he found him in the States and brought him back.
Yeah.
But I guess part of and this is something I learned from Rain at Chucky, where I guess the studio agreement between like being filmed in Romania to then leveraging a UK studio, part of the financials of all the behind the scenes stuff required them to have a certain number of like UK folks. Oh. So that's kind of what sparked leading towards Billy Boyd or needing like more UK talent to be a part of the film itself. So.
Okay, that's probably where we get Jennifer's assistant. She's also British.
I always know this actress Joan. From S Club 7. Do you remember S Club 7?
I do remember S Club. Well, I mean,
they were kind of like a knockoff Spice Girls, but it was boys and girls. I remember them on Fox Family, and she was kind of like a mediocre. I hate to say mediocre. That's a little shady. She had a little bit of a pop career in the UK at this time.
Okay.
Admittedly, I went from like the Spice Girls in 96, 97, right to Korn's Life is Peachy, Follow the Leader, and then I was new metal all the way.
Work.
So,
I love that.
Work. Work. But it does make sense because there are a lot of British actors peppered throughout this movie, like Hannah Spirit, who plays Joan, the assistant, Jason Fleming,
playing
who
himself,
plays Santa Claus, but is also ostensibly playing himself because they do refer to him as Jason when the scene cuts.
And he's in Spice Girls.
And he is in Spice World. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And then I think there are a couple. The movie. I think there are a couple more kind of thrown in there, but. I love how meta this movie is. It's very interesting that it is shot in Romania, but a lot of the movie studio scenes are actual.
They had second unit stuff that shot around LA.
Second unit stuff that when they're on big movie sets, they are movie studio sets.
I can't remember if that mural with the humpback whale. I can't remember if that's at Paramount or just one of those.
I think it's at one of those funny little
little boutique studios around Hollywood.
I think it's off the one off Selma.
I mean, Jennifer Tilly's introduction of this movie, sneaking a candy bar on the set of this movie and drinking a Slim Quick.
Yeah.
So funny.
Eating this candy bar and they're like, "Where's your Slim Quick, Jen?"
The acting on Jennifer when she's taking these bites of this candy bar, I think is so funny. I'm an Oscar nominee and now I'm fucking a puppet.
Mm-hmm. Put it on a t-shirt, put it on a poster.
Okay, so here's something about this movie that really takes me back to movies in 2004, that there's kind of the running joke with Redman making this movie about the Virgin Mary, that is he going to cast Julia Roberts or Jennifer Tilly as Mary? And this really takes me back to around when Passion of the Christ came out, and it made all that money. So it was just kind of poking fun at that, of just kind of Christian movies are where it's at. Let's get Jennifer, you need to play the Virgin Mary. I think that is so funny.
And then he has a problem when she's like, I'm pregnant. He's like, why you can't play a virgin? Like, what?
But she's pregnant in the movie. The fact that Redman, the rapper, is
making a Bible epic.
This movie.
And Julia Roberts is attached to star.
Yeah, sure. She'll be in the Redman directed movie. I also love that his stage name is Redman. It was Method Man and Redman. And that's his name. It's Redman. But John Waters calls him Redman, like Spider-Man, like it's his birth name. And then Jennifer kind of goes back and forth. Sometimes she calls him Redman, and sometimes she says Redman.
I never noticed that. Well, now I got to. After this, I'm putting Seed of Chucky back on just so I can catch that.
When John Waters said it, I was like, he's old. He's from Baltimore. I think maybe
Redman just seems like
Redman
a Baltimore way of saying Redman. Yeah.
And it's also a name. It's like Farrah Fawcett and
Lee Majors?
Not Lee Majors. Ryan O'Neal. One of their sons is named Redman O'Neal. But it's Redmond, M-O-N-D. This is Redman. And so I was always like, call him Redman. That was just my little weird, ADD. Okay. I think that the Tiffany doll in this movie, the face, has definitely had an upgrade. This is like a super
Both
deluxe.
Her and Chucky have a little upgrade. They comment on it.
But just aesthetically, it's just, this doll is great. There is really, I said there was good acting in the last one. There's some really great acting. There's facial expressions on these dolls that are so good in this movie. There are a lot of little cameos in this. The special effects guy whose head gets chopped off, he's like an actual special effects guy. He worked on
Tony Gardner.
Yeah, Tony Gardner. He did one of our favorite effects ever, the half corpse woman from Return of the Living Dead that's on the table, and her spine, her spine is wiggling around, and there's spinal fluid coming out of it, and she's like, it hurts, the pain. We love that effect. It's so great. And I was looking at his IMDb, and he would have been 22 or 23 when he worked on Return of the Living Dead. I'm like, damn, he was some
hotshot.
Yeah, hotshot kid.
Makeup artist.
Yeah, makeup artist. I was like, damn, that's amazing. And she's like,
he's got quite the resume.
Yeah, she's like, ooh, you look so lifeless. And she kisses the head. Or so lifelike. And she kisses the head. Oh my God. So good. Yeah, but he does have a killer resume. He's up there with these special effects wizards. So I love that this movie's really kind of leaned into, this is a movie about movies, about making
kind
movies.
of in the way that New Nightmare did in 94.
Yeah. Love it. When he ran the Britney Spears lookalike off the road.
Sure. Yeah. Giving me a little epic movie.
It's a little epic movie with the lookalikes, but that's okay. I did notice when we watched the trailer. We watched the trailer before we put the movie on. And in the trailer, his stitches and the gore on his face was digitally toned down. So when we watched the trailer, I was like, oh, are they making it seem like his stitches are healing? But then when you watch the movie, they're there. I think they had to cut the gore out of his face for the trailer because it's just I don't think there can be that much blood in trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're going to be
unless it's a Redman trailers wouldn't have really been a thing in 2004 that you would have seen in the theater.
Yeah. So watch the trailer for Seed of Chucky, and you'll see Chucky's face looks a little altered, and I think it's just digital alterations that they did. That was just something that I noticed.
I have in my notes, Hell would be ending up on Celebrity Fear Factor in a worm eating contest with Anna Nicole Smith.
Shade.
Mm-hmm. But just kind of poking fun at Jennifer Tilly's career.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't ever remember things being that sad for her. No. So I think just kind of really leaning into that Jennifer Tilly and the universe of the Chucky movies has like seen better days in her career. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean at this time, this is 2004, you said? Mm-hmm. So now she's in her mid-40s, you know, which is like for a Hollywood actress,
sure.
like 40 was bad enough. Now it's like 5-6 years later, you know. So yeah, that's just leaning on into
and she doesn't want to start playing people's moms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is it? Isn't there another meme that says like the midpoint between is Jennifer Tilly is like the midpoint between Dolly Parton and Elvira?
Yeah, that's about right.
Oh, I don't have seen that. But
you haven't seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one goes around every now and then. I'll see if I can find one. But yeah, I've seen that one on
You
Instagram.
laughed every time when there would be a shot of Jennifer's mansion and just how it looked.
The exteriors of her mansion, where you can see the Hollywood sign in the distance.
I love it.
Yeah, this clear digital composite shot.
I love that it says movie set.
Yeah.
But believe that it's a real house.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I think in the daylight, it looks like pink. Or I don't know if it's supposed to be pink or if it's supposed to be kind of like a peachy kind of color.
Maybe salmon.
Yeah, salmon. Yeah.
But yeah,
like,
this Frankenstein shot
stupid
of
house.
this mansion in what looks to be Hancock Park.
Yeah. I don't think you could see the Hollywood.
If you're getting a shot of the Hollywood sign like that.
Maybe you could.
Mm-hmm.
But also this like huge spiral staircase with this like circular foyer at the bottom. Like this house is so stupid. Like I love it.
Yeah. So I mean, Chucky and Tiffany's master plan is they're going to find bodies for all of themselves, that they are going to artificially inseminate Jennifer Tilly with Chucky's semen.
Yes.
Which is a whole sequence of the movie that they give him all of these whack mags to finish himself off
to
with.
rub one off, and he decides on
Fangoria.
Yes.
I love that little plot, or I love that little prop.
Yeah.
And they're going to artificially inseminate her to get a body for Glen/Glenda.
Yes. And
Redman is going to be the body for Chucky, and Tiffany's going to be the body, or Jennifer's going to be the body for Tiffany. Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
What a plan.
Mm-hmm. What a plan.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. You don't have to dig too deep. You don't have to think too much on the biology of doll Chucky rubbing one out, inseminating a human woman, and the babies coming out human babies? Sure.
Yeah.
What did I think was going to happen? I don't know. Doll babies? I don't know.
I mean, I guess it kind of goes back to the conversation of like, how did Tiffany bleach her hair in the last movie, right? Like, it's part human. So I guess the sperm works the same way, right? Like,
yeah, I think
we love magic.
Yes, magic. Who cares, right? I think there is a little IMDb trivia about Don Mancini not quite agreeing with Glen having red hair because of the biology behind that, and that the red hair being inherited from the Chucky doll as opposed to Charles, right?
Oh,
because Charles looks like Tommy Wiseau and has black hair.
Maybe the Chucky doll DNA just overrides Charles. I don't know.
Well, okay. What the IMDb trivia said was that the show retconned it and showed that Tiffany, as a child, is a natural redhead.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's right, because the first season they have those flashbacks,
and that's where Glenda got the red hair from, as opposed to Chucky doll. Which I think that's all like using too much of our brains, but
there's last month for my birthday I bought that book Gay Science. I can't remember. Rob is it's the dude that did it. The Gay Science videos are very funny, but sitting here like talking through like, how does Tiffany have bleached hair if she's a doll? How does Chucky receive it? Like the franchise should lean in and do like a science book, right? Like a gag book where it's like, this is how all this works, I would buy that immediately. Like, where can I pre-order it? Just to like understand all the goofy magic.
Yeah.
Would just be like a fun thing that I think they could lean into.
Or even just as like a box set DVD extra for like the series, like narrated by like Brad as Chucky, just kind of like going like a school like biology lesson of like, here's
yes,
you know, this weird Chucky sperm. But like we said, you know, when Tiffany's back plate was taken off and we saw like her body is under there, like she's like alive.
There's
right?
organs in there.
There's organs in there. So I guess, you know, when Chucky rubs one out, it's gonna. And when she has that turkey baster and there's CGI like dripping off of the edge of it.
Think of the artist that had to create that.
He's like, I went to Art Center. I'm still paying off my student loans from Art Center, and I'm like drawing this digital like jizz on the end of this turkey baster.
Honestly, I would brag about that as much as I possibly could.
I think I would too. Yeah. I think it would be on my business card.
Yeah, it's a silly tone that I think is really successful, and it's why I think it's my favorite of these two movies.
Sure.
Is for stupid shit like this, that these ridiculous moments that this movie is so confident in, and I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, I want to bring something up. Scott, what is the Brian De Palma movie where Michael Caine is
Dressed to Kill?
Dressed to Kill. So what do we think of when we finally do see like Glenda in like full force? This is Glenda, wig, makeup, and all that. The
serial killer of Glen / Glenda is in Glenda.
Right.
It does kind of lean into that 80s and 70s trope of a man in a dress.
Yeah.
That you see
is going to be the murderer
in movies like this. Yeah.
I was like, okay. Hey, that's where we're going. That's where we finally get Glenda, is like now full on murderer mode. I don't know. But I think it's kind of parodying that, maybe.
Sure.
It's interesting. It did kind of call to mind Dressed to Kill a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie. It's a Brian De Palma movie.
So I'm embarrassed to say I have not seen Dressed to Kill.
That's okay.
Dressed to Kill is a ride.
My buddy Jesse, who does the Cult Cinema Circle podcast.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Which, I think you guys have been been in each other's shows.
Blade Runner. Yep.
And every time I think we chat, he's like, "Have you seen this movie yet?" I'm like, "No." I'm just going to take a PTO day. I think, and just walk out and watch it because I think missing out a piece of pop culture.
It's very interesting. That's a movie that I'll say is slow paced. That I watch and I get a little impatient with it. But it is a little problematic, I would say, with the whole
it's an older all of the older Brian De Palma movies are problematic.
Sure. But it's funny though that when we do see Glenda after who does Glenda kill? No, Redman's already dead. Oh no, does she throw the knife at the chauffeur? No. At any rate,
the opening scene.
No. Well, but at the very end, when we see her in the wedding dress and the wig and all that, but when kind of Tiffany talks her out of it, then like the wig is a little askew and we see like the red hair popping out. We're like, oh, okay, it's Glen underneath there. It's an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
But I think that's just for I think that's really kind of leaning into that kind of psycho moment, right? Mm-hmm. This is the movie that has a little bit more of the psycho references.
There's a lot of Hitchcock references in this movie.
Hitchcock references. And I think that was what Brian De Palma was kind of aping when he
absolutely
when he made Dressed to Kill. So
he was going off of a Norman Bates character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting subtext there, but ultimately not really where the character lands. But
on the psycho reference, I love that Glen would not hurt a fly the same way Norman would not hurt a fly. And I love that it's also said over like voiceover.
Yeah.
similarly to in Psycho.
Yeah, and it's voiceover that specifically like it's what Glen is thinking at that moment. Like, I wouldn't even hurt this fly. Yeah, very good kind of call back to that. I thought it was interesting at the very beginning when we see those scenes from the doll's point of view, and you think, oh, Chucky's been delivered to this posh English family.
These scenes remind me a lot of Curse of Chucky.
Yeah, exactly.
Which and Curse of Chucky would be the follow-up to Seed of Chucky, but made like almost 15 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, it did very much feel like that. But then you kind of see like, oh wait, it's not Chucky after all. It's actually this new character that we don't know yet.
And he's pissing his pants. He's pissing his pants.
You're pissing your pants. I think Psych is the name of the ventriloquist at the International Ventriloquist Convention.
Not this rock and roll International Ventriloquist Convention.
Yeah, so good. But getting back to kind of our climax, and Chucky kind of having this realization moment that, hey, maybe I don't need this reincarnation situation or to be transferred into a body, whatever. I like that ultimately it does turn into this little family drama where Tiffany's just like, I'm leaving you and I'm taking the kid.
Yeah.
It's very, it gives me like Paulette vibes. Like, I'm taking the dog. I mean, she like takes the dog.
I'm taking the dog.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess that's what's kind of interesting about these movies in particular is that at the heart of it, it's this marital story. It's the story of family.
Family drama.
Which is kind of weird when you just think of what this material is and how they found that in these screenplays. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it started off just like Killer Doll. I'm putting you in the fireplace and all of that. But yeah, it's kind of evolved into this new story. And now with the TV series, it's evolved even more to, this huge mythology.
So much. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I mean, when you do watch the final two sequels,
Curse and Cult,
it does kind of break open into like so much, and it starts to brings back Jennifer, and it brings back Christina Lease as Kyle, and it brings back I can't remember Andy, from the first movie. It does become this kind of meta, like who's playing themselves, who's playing their original character, like what, but when you really follow it along, it's so rich and deep.
There's a lot there.
Mythology. But it's just so great that Don Mancini has been able to kind of be behind all of it.
He builds off of each one with each of these movies and now the TV show.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of this growing franchise.
Yeah. But I think as far as like, representation and all of that, and I talk a lot about, being in high school in the 90s and searching out representation anywhere I could and really having to do that, which I think a lot of gay people, a lot of queer people have this experience of like sneaking off to find gay movies and kind of renting something without your parents knowing maybe, and I'm going to watch this movie and that movie. And, for kids growing up to be able to see two queer kids having a relationship, kissing on screen, on television, this is on basic cable, right? Like this is really important. It's a really big deal for that representation to be there. If I was a teenager growing up, like it would have blown my mind, but in the 90s,
sorry to interrupt, but I can't even imagine that. Like it would.
Yeah.
What I was in high school in like 99 to 2003. Like, I mean, I was leaning into everything that would like make me look straight. Cause I just didn't want to deal with the harassment.
Yep.
Now, however many years later, working with younger folk, doing like mock interviews or whatever for career related things and having them say like, I'm gay or I'm trans or I'm this or I'm that. Every time I'm like, I'm just in awe.
Yeah.
So that representation is it's so important. But yeah, sorry.
No, absolutely. That's just going along with what I was saying. I just feel like, yeah, in the 90s it was just so like clandestine, and I always felt like I shouldn't be watching this, or I'm glad to be watching this. I'm so happy that it exists, but it doesn't really speak to me. You know, it was always, I mean, for me being like this like Latin kid in like LA or whatever, when I would see the representation, I'd be like, okay, these are older people, or they're, you know, they're white guys, or they're whatever. So it's like I would see it and I would be like, yes, thank you. But at the same time, it doesn't always speak to me. But now it's like there's people of color. There's, you know, there's all this stuff going on in the media today, and especially in this series, to see kind of like an interracial couple and for them to just be out and open and it not really be an issue with their journey, right? Their journey is stay alive. Don't get murdered by these dolls, right? But the journey's not coming out. They already kind of know who they are, and it's there. And I think that's so important for kids. And yeah, you're right. To see kids at that age, actual kids that are not acting or characters in TV shows, to just be so confident in who they are and be able to say it. It's like, wow, I wouldn't have been able to dream of that at that age, at that time. So, yeah, the fact that Don Mancini's kind of been able to spearhead all that, it's
and especially kind
so
of tracing this back to the original Child's Play in 1988. That,
Yeah.
I mean, I take it that he was probably a hotshot young screenwriter at that time, and they just sort of handed him this rough concept of an idea of a doll comes to life, and then, I mean, almost over 40 years later, this is where we're at in the franchise now. Like, this is just how that simple idea of a horror movie can just kind of grow to something that's, I mean, changes a lot of people's lives, of just kind of seeing representation in genre horror like that. And I think it's pretty cool and very unique too. That's, I mean, there's not a lot of films like that have done something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think it's extra cool because Chucky and Tiffany have now just become these icons of horror. You know, you can't walk into like a Spencer's Gifts or, you know, like, you know, a mall kind of kooky rock and roll store without seeing like a Tiffany doll or a Chucky t-shirt or whatever. And it is this huge mass market property that, you know, maybe a lot of people don't really understand the like queer kind of connotations that are attached to it, but at least maybe it can be kind of a bridge to that. Maybe it's somebody's like, oh, there's a show I didn't know. Maybe I'll watch the show, and they'll just be like, hey, this is cool. Like, I like these characters, you know? I think that that's kind of important too, that maybe these straight people who are maybe not the core audience for it now, but just have this horror background that are like, okay, I'm super into these two crazy characters, and it can kind of like bridge this gap.
Changed a lot of lives.
Changed a lot of lives.
Changed a lot of lives. Yep.
Yeah. So I love that about this. And these movies are really funny. And they stand up. All these years later, we're sitting here laughing our asses off.
Both Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky make for a great double feature because these movies do not go over 90 minutes.
Yes, both of them are short, quick views.
Yep.
Yes, give me a 90-minute movie. Holy shit! Like,
yeah.
I miss the days of like 90-minute movies.
Yeah.
I mean, Pete and I just saw The Substance, which a movie that we enjoyed. I think that you could have knocked a good 20 minutes off that.
I don't know how familiar you are, Travis, with The Substance with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. It's in theaters now. It's kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of story. A lot of body horror in there, you know, with this new, younger you that kind of is a part of your body somehow. I don't want to give away too much because it's in theaters now. It's very body horror. It's very gory. It is 2.5 hours long.
I think that you could have got.
It did not.
I think that you could have got a tight 2-hour runtime of that movie, and you could have gotten the point across.
Based on the trailers and based on the type of movie it was, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a 90-minute watch. And we're driving up, and I was like, holy shit, this is 2 hours and 20 minutes. No. And it was definitely too long. Yeah. I recommend it, listeners. It's a
Especially
fun ride.
if you are a fan of horror, I would recommend it.
But it does need an edit. So at any rate, these two do not. These two are fun. You can watch them on their own. They're currently in the U.S. on Netflix.
They're both on Netflix.
Yeah, they're both on Netflix right now.
Makes for a fun October double feature.
Yeah.
Or December.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Exactly.
any month out of the year, Friday night, get yourself some popcorn.
Totally.
Get some friends.
Yeah.
And pull up on these films.
Yeah.
They are a good time.
Yeah. Scott, I'm glad that you said that. Scott and I are very much of it doesn't have to be October to watch horror movies. I don't get that. I never got that, where people are like, it's fall, I can watch horror movies now. I'm like, what? That's weird to me. I'm just like,
my brain, that math doesn't math.
no, it doesn't math at all. I'm like, let's just watch a freaking horror movie. Who cares? It could be hot outside. So yes, so thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course. Oh, could we? It's kind of sticking in line with like queer characters, queer people. Can we talk about John Waters?
Oh yeah,
We briefly
Seed of
mentioned
Chucky.
John Waters, like treasure on our show. We've covered many a John Waters movie. I love to see John Waters dropped in this universe as this paparazzo, as this paparazzi photographer. It's so stupid. I love it so much.
I love it too. When Jennifer's when Jennifer's like, what do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? And he's like, yeah, someone get a piece of paper and pencil. Like, it's just so good.
Yeah. He says like some of the questions he throws out at her, like we had the subtitles on so we could see some of the like little background things. He says, what's your real age?
What year were you
What
born?
year were you born? I think he
right,
says, how much do you weigh? I think like he's just throwing all these rude ass questions at her. So good.
When I love that the dolls like don't like the character, what is it, Pete Peters? Because like he's such a jerk to Jennifer.
Yep.
So, and then of course the whole photography situation when Chucky and Glen have a family moment when they go hunting.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And much like Don Davenport, he gets acid thrown in his face.
Oh yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
But Don Davenport survives the acid to the face.
Yeah.
I don't develop my own film. Do you need sulfuric acid to
I've developed my own film, and I don't think I've ever used acid in the darkroom.
Yeah, I took a photography class, but couldn't tell you.
I don't know that you need sulfuric acid, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what the hell do I know? I'm not a photographer, but I just thought that was funny that he got the acid on his face, just like Don Davenport in Female Trouble.
And that's just like a security thing, right? Like you're a part of the paparazzi and you're taking these photos. You might have to defend yourself from intruders. True. So you might have like in a spray bottle or something. And
there you go.
So maybe it's a karma thing. It's just a thing we didn't see on camera.
Yeah.
Chucky's karma for somebody that he may have got with the sulfuric acid.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, John Waters, treasure, icon.
I mean, I'm sure that when Don offered him this movie, he's like, this is my brand of bullshit. Is both Chucky and Tiffany. Mm-hmm.
Do you know the back? Are you guys familiar with like how he got involved?
No, tell us.
Yeah, so Don had, I guess, lunch or dinner with Justin Whaling, and Justin had mentioned how big of a fan John Waters was. Because Justin played Andy in Child's Play 3. Justin also worked with John Waters on Serial Mom. Mm-hmm. And so I guess he was like, John's a big fan. John has like a Chucky doll in his bathroom, and he would live to be a part of it. So yeah, I guess like that's what helped bridge those two together.
Okay.
And there's like some interview where John was just like, it's a dream to be killed by Chucky. It's like the only role that I ever lobbied for. I'm like, I love how he's even like so into this universe and just all the fun and camp of it all. So plus like gays supporting gays. I love that story too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I didn't even think of that connection that Justin Whalen was kind of worked with both of them. I forgot about that.
Who is he in Serial Mom?
He's friends with
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard.
Okay.
With Stu. Yeah. Matthew Lillard's character.
Stu.
Stu before Stu.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. That's a fun little tie-in right there.
Mm-hmm.
The John Waters camp just happened last weekend, I think.
Friend of the pod, Seth was just there.
Our friend Seth.
Seth Shubin.
Yes, he is the jerk of all trades on Instagram. He went to the John Waters
Came
camp,
on for a Female Trouble
and
episode.
that looks wild.
Melanie Griffith was there.
Melanie Griffith was there. They had a whole Cecil B. Demented evening, and Melanie showed up, and he's got pictures with her. It seemed like a fun time. Mink Stoll, goes and judges the costume contest and all that stuff. It looks like an interesting group that goes to the John Waters camp every year.
The all-inclusive Dreamland Sleepaway Weekend. Yep. I'm on the page for it right now. Oh, this looks incredible.
Yeah. We were looking at some of the pictures that Seth posted, and we're like, this is a fun crowd. This looks like an interesting
you get a good branch of weirdos there, which I love.
Definitely weirdos is the key. But if you love John Waters and the Dreamlanders and all that, check it out for next year. Or check out Seth's Instagram. It looked like some fun. And John goes every year. Mink Stoll goes. Like we said, Melanie Griffith was there herself. What a gag. Mm-hmm. I was gagged when he had pictures with Melanie Griffith. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, that's incredible. But,
I'm sure that Mel probably loved what Seth was dressed as.
Yeah.
Or Seth's outfit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
all right. Well, we should probably wrap things up.
Travis, this was so much fun.
Thank you so much.
On.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, we originally kind of touched base with you from your earlier project, Caffeinated and Queer. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. You said it's on hold right now, but you're welcome to talk about anything you want to plug.
Yeah, sure. So I guess you can find me on Instagram. My personal account's More Than Mindless, but without the A. So MorethnMindless. So it's mostly where I'm active right now. But yeah, I do have in flux right now a series called Caffeinated and Queer, where it's just basically me trying to pull together anything that's related to the LGBTQ plus community, whether that's creators, musicians, artists, history. Having at a time where books are getting banned and the community is under attack, I wave my punk rock fist to say, well, I want to talk about it here. I want to create space for the community here, and I want to help whoever I can learn or help whoever I can get their word out, so other people can learn and find them. So, and I love a coffee. So, tying it back to coffee, but so that's there. It's on Instagram as of right now. But if you want to hear me sing a few of my songs, my band Dead Bird Pie, you can find us on Apple Music and Spotify and all those places. But yeah, I think that's about it. So, but thank you guys so much for having me on. This is great. Your All Shows is a fantastic show.
Thank you.
So it's really cool to be able to come talk to you guys, especially about Chucky, because I love this franchise so much. So it's like Scream and the Chucky series. So yeah, love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, this was a ton of fun. We'll have you on again for
good
something
start
else.
To the month.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So happy Halloween spooky season to you.
Oh, sorry. And happy 20th birthday to Seed of Chucky, because it celebrates 20 years this year.
Next month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So happy Halloween and happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Early November release movie. Very interesting that they were kind of leaning into the holiday season.
Sure.
Probably with its marketing, since there's a little Christmas scene in it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All righty. Well, yeah, Travis, like we said, the invite is always open for you to come back, but we will let you go for now. Listeners, thank you so much for sticking around this far. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. And guests, thank you for following along to the very, very end.
It's a good start to our October month. October is one of my favorite times on the podcast.
Yes.
It's so much fun to pick the movies. We have a lot of fun stuff this month, too.
We have
a lot of classic horror movies, too, that we're going to be watching this month.
Yeah. Listeners, I said guests, I meant listeners. But listeners, I think I said it earlier in the episode, talking to Travis. I think I said we're just kind of this mindset that we don't always feel like it has to be October to watch a scary movie.
It's kind of a supersized October month because we've been at this since Beetlejuice and Addams Family.
Right. But we do like to program the show for spooky movies.
We always like to make October a little special, and we have some fun movies.
Yes.
We're going to be doing another Halloween movie, and
Halloween is in Michael Myers.
Yeah, Halloween is in Michael Myers.
Word.
We might be even talking about Elvira again
word?
too.
Oh,
so
word.
a lot of fun stuff.
Awesome. I love that. Well, yeah, listeners, stay tuned for some really great new episodes coming up in the month of October. But like we just said moments ago, we'd like to say another great big thank you to our wonderful guest, Travis McMaster. You were great, really fun. Love their love of the Chucky franchise and all their knowledge.
Fun conversation.
To add it to all that convo. So that was really great. Thank you again, Travis. And again, you're always welcome to come back on the show anytime you'd like. So that was a great one. And I mean, we can do TV that made us gay about the Chucky series. I know, Scott, you'll have to dip your toe back into the lore, but it's fun. Trust us.
I want to at least watch that Bound reunion.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. You can start there. But until then, I think it's just about that time.
Patreon shout-outs?
Time for some Patreon shout-outs! So I'm going to head right over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay so that I can say a great big hey hello to all of our active patrons. If Safari wants to work. There we go. So, yeah, right now we've got some great stuff over on the Patreon, and we've got some wonderful new patrons that we want to say a great big hello and thank you to, including Brian, Mohammed, Sarah, and Richard, Mark, Jeff, Deja, Amy, Erica, Anna, Mitchie, our friends at How Do You Drew, Andy, Kate, Pep, Roberto, Daisy, Patrick, Kelly, Chrissy, Stephen, Desiree, Laura, Thomas, Lori, Brenna, Jess Rabbit, Lawrence, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Millie, Ted, Benny, Melanie, Susan, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Aaron, John, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino.
Thank you for being
guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for being patrons. Like we said, there's so much fun stuff over on the Patreon right now.
We have our television that made us gay at the $5 level, which we watch a TV show every month. We are coming up for the holiday season until December. We have a lot of fun TV shows.
Yes, there's a lot of good stuff coming.
We're going to be talking about
in the pipe. So, is it October already?
Yeah.
Okay, it's October already. So
we're talking about
sit tight.
Halloween episodes of Roseanne.
Yes.
I think that we're going to be doing a few of them.
If it hasn't come out yet, if they haven't already dropped, they should be dropping soon. But
get ready for Roseanne to be
out.
uncanceled on the podcast.
You know what I mean? We're all about separating the art from the artist here at Movies That Made Us Gay. We're keeping it light. We're not going to be talking about, any of the crazy stuff.
Her crazy appearance on Tucker Carlson recently.
No. We're separating the art from the artist here.
We're remembering the Roseanne that we grew up with.
we grew up on. Yeah. So check that out. That's at the $5 level. That is TV that keeps us gay. And there's also our entire summer series we did on Beverly Hills 90210 this summer, where we did 5 episodes just on 90210, including our regularly scheduled TV that keeps us gay. And at the $10 level, you get all that we just said, and you get our commentary tracks. So there's about 46, 47 of those, and we pick a movie, we record a track as we're watching it, we give you instructions on how to sync it up. You can watch the movie on your laptop, and you can play the track on your phone, or your iPad or whatever, and sync it up, and it's a good time. So check that out over at Movies That Made Us Gay. Patreon.com/movies that made us gay.
You know what is free?
Indeed. What's
is
that?
a 5-star review on
Yes, indeed.
Apple
Podcasts.
or Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yes, indeedy. You can give us a 5-star rating on both of those listening apps, and on Apple Podcasts you can write us a review. So head over there. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you have Apple Podcasts pre-installed. So just search for Movies That Made Us Gay, and you can write a review for us or give us those 5 stars. And then after you do that, you can follow us on our socials. We're at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram.
Most active on Instagram.
We're most active over there. So we love all that engagement, comment, share, repost, all that stuff. All that helps the show to reach a wider audience. So then once you've done that, if you want to follow our personals, feel free. You can do that. My name's Pete. I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram.
I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeedy. So check us out, do all that fun stuff. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.